The following podcast is taken from a live broadcast on Inspire FM.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Book Club show on Inspire 105.1 FM. The time is 10 o'clock on Tuesday, the 25th of February. I am your host, Imrana. I hope you have had a wonderful morning so far. Maybe a little bit chilly out there, but not to worry because spring is around the corner. We are going to head straight over to a track by Baraka Blue called Love and Light.
Filled with love and light. May your wrongs be right. May your songs be tight. May your words give sight. May your newer shine bright. May you always be on the righteous side of the fight. May your lovers be loyal. May your soil be fertile. May your khaki stay creased. May your locks stay oil. May your plans never get foiled. May your plot thicken. May your chicken be halal. May your style be sufficient. May your soul be free of its prison. May Allah increase you in your vision. May you find everything you've been missing. May you awake for prayer before the sun has risen. When you speak, may your audience listen. May you never feel trapped in the system. May you sire many righteous children who will act on prophetic tradition. May you always have food on your plate. May you learn from every mistake. May you rise above all the hate. And may Allah increase you in your state. May you never pretend that you are what you ain't. May your friends be real and never be fake. May your rent never have to be late. And may your health always be great. May Allah forgive every sin, now and forever if you falter again. And may you always stay close with your kin. And may He make all your enemies friends. May He make reality of your plans. May your present be pleasant, may you have a good end. May your heart be purified of its flaws. And may you act according to the laws that were revealed in the book of Allah. And may He catch you whenever you fall. May the one guide you to the truth. And when you doubt, may He show you the proof. May you be like the Ahl Suf, with the wisdom of the elders, the energy of the youth. May He accept your prayers and your fast, the very first all the way to the last. And remove obstacles that you have. And may you receive everything that you ask. May you never have regret for your past. And receive mercy, not the wrath. And as you travel down your personal path, may you always have a reason to laugh like that.
Assalamu alaikum, and that was Baraka Blue's Love and Light. I absolutely love that track, especially first thing in the morning. I think it's really kind of a get-go thing, and obviously the du'as are absolutely beautiful. So it is Tuesday the 25th of February, just past 10 o'clock. I'm your host Imrana. This is the Book Club show, and I'm really excited today to be joined by an awesome guest who is Awais Khan, who is the author of the book In the Company of Strangers. Now Awais has joined us well, from London, but technically from Pakistan. So even more exciting to have him as a guest. I am going to go and straight really to the blurb of the book to give you a background of what this is about. And obviously today, if you do have any comments or questions about the things that we discussed today, you can call in on 01582 481 822, or you can WhatsApp in on 07779 481 822. We are also on Facebook Live. So the website is www.inspirefm.org, and you can also catch us there. So the blurb for In the Company of Strangers. Lahore, a city of secretive glamour, whispering elites and sordid affairs. Mona has almost everything, money, friends, social status. Everything except for freedom. Languishing in her golden cage, she craves a sense of belonging. Desperate for emotional release, she turns to a friend who introduces her to a world of glitter, glamour, covert affairs and drugs. There she meets Ali, a physically and emotionally wounded man years younger than her. Heady with love, she begins a delicate game of deceit that spirals out of control and threatens to shatter the deceptive facade of conservatism erected by Lahore society and potentially destroy everything that Mona has ever held dear. So that is an intriguing blurb. And to be honest, even as I speak, I'm just like this. I mean, obviously, there'll be topics today that we are going to talk about, which might be something that we don't really necessarily hear when it comes to Pakistan. I think that's what makes this book so important in terms of the themes that it tackles. But I am going to introduce Awais now, who basically is obviously, as I said, the author of In the Company of Strangers. He's a graduate of Western University and Durham University, and he is an avid reader and a writer all his life, and decided to take the plunge and study novel writing and editing at Faber Academy in London. He's also the founder of the Writing Institute, one of the largest institutions for creative writing in Pakistan. He's represented by Annette Crossland at A for Authors Agency Limited, and In the Company of Strangers is his first novel. Assalamu alaikum, Awais.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you, Imrana?
Alhamdulillah, really, really well. How are you?
I'm good. Nice to be in Luton.
Fantastic. That's the best thing to say. We already won over. How was your commute into Luton, though?
It wasn't too bad, actually.
Good.
But I had to wake up a little early in order to catch a train. I didn't want to be late for the show.
No, exactly. And that was very good because I'm late everywhere. So, that's a good start. So can we start by talking a little bit about your inspiration, really, for this book, In the Company of Strangers?
Well, the inspiration behind this was that there's a general perception in the West that Pakistan is just a country of, poor people and shanty towns. So I really wanted to show that, an alternate life also exists, and that there are people who follow the latest trends and who buy all these expensive things. And, I just wanted to show that an alternate side exists to Pakistan. So that's the main inspiration behind it.
Sure. Okay. And no, I think absolutely right, and it happens a lot, I think, for people living in the West. So not obviously just towards Pakistan, but any, what they would call in quotation marks, developing countries. Exactly. This idea that actually it's always presented, as being poor and almost destitute, but actually you don't get to see the wonderful richness that exists, but also the I guess, as it alludes to in the blurb, the elite, I guess, society as well. Yeah. So why did you pick that in particular, do you think, in terms of, I don't know, a particular community, so to speak, in Pakistan?
Because that's the one I have most experience with. So,
right, okay.
So as they say that, a writer is first an observer. So that's what I observed over the years, and I decided to write about that.
Okay, that's definitely, that's a really good way of looking at it. And we always, I think, any art form, I think almost starts that way, where it is about what you're observing and what you've experienced, and you take from that. So that's really,
how it's convincing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And it's the idea of kind of being authentic as well, and just the idea that these are things that aren't always spoken about and aren't always maybe given a platform almost. And do you think that in terms of the impact then that maybe the subjects that you've tackled in the books, obviously some of them, I mean, I might not be right to say taboo necessarily, but just those conversations that we wouldn't maybe have over the dinner table, you're kind of having those through the book. So do you think how that's impacted people's perceptions of Pakistan or society?
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of Western readers come back to me, and they were like, we had no idea that these kind of things existed in Pakistan.
Sure.
And, that this book does change our perception of Pakistan.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't feel that I could lie about Pakistan, So that's why I had to show all facets of life in Pakistan. So a lot of people might say that, why have you shown terrorism in Pakistan, but the fact is that it used to happen back in the day.
Sure, okay.
So it was very important to sort of be truthful about everything.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And do you think, though, because that is one of the things I was thinking, because as you read the book, obviously initially it is talking about this kind of glamorous lifestyle where, you know, you've got models and fashion shows, and obviously that is an aspect that actually if like me, sometimes you might watch a particularly Urdu channel or something, you know, we know that this goes on, and there's, you know, I mean, Pakistani fashion's amazing, right? I mean, you know, everyone wants to go back to Pakistan and shop, and so there's this beautiful kind of a heritage, I guess, in terms of our culture. And then you kind of do get a sense of that quite early on in the book. But then, you know, as you mentioned, this concept of, you know, there's, you know, a small minority of extremists, which obviously leads to the theme of terrorism in the book. So whereas I understand what you're saying, that you want to be authentic to, you know, what Pakistan's reality has been. Yeah. Do you think, though, for then readers in the West, it might perpetuate that kind of stereotype almost? Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question. But I mean, I made sure that the focus would be on the high society of Pakistan when I was writing the novel. And that's where the sort of the book is like, it revolves around their lives. And terrorism is only like, it plays it's like almost like a subplot, and that's what it is in life. About, you know, that's what it is in life in Pakistan. It's not, it doesn't govern us or it doesn't rule us.
True.
So
no,
that's
absolutely.
what I wanted to show as well.
Okay, sure. No, absolutely. And I mean, with a similar question, so we had a question from Sadaf, and it's kind of, I guess, something what we've said, but in addition to that, but I'll read out the question. So it says, it's compelling reading, but left with uncomfortable feeling and sadness. Why did the author feel need to perpetuate already well-found worldview of Pakistan being linked to terrorism and views about male dominance?
Male dominance. Yes, so once again, I think it's very important, although it's a work of fiction, but it has to be grounded in reality to some extent. So it's not today, but maybe a few years back, this was the reality of Pakistan, that we were living in fear, and it was terrorism was very much a reality. So I thought it was very important because that's the time the book is based on. So that's why I wrote about it. And male dominance is something that Pakistan is sort of going through even today. So it's a big part of Pakistan, and a lot of people are talking about it now, and that's why I felt that it was very important to talk about it too, about how male dominance sort of can ruin lives as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the best thing really is in terms of the characters in the books. Obviously, the blurb mentions the main character, which is Mona, who is obviously part of this, I guess, you know, elite society. She's married to, you know, a wealthy businessman. You know, her friends, or one of her closest friends, is obviously in the fashion industry. So the idea, I guess, you know, your characters, they are quite well-rounded in terms of you can really see their stories in, you know, through them, and the struggles, I guess, with the fact that they are in some ways with men who I guess are overpowering. So in one sense, you know, the idea of living in a patriarchal culture, of course, that's across the board. You know, it's the same with the West, whether, you know, or wherever you might be. So do you feel that, I mean, with Sadaf's question, this idea that, you know, she's maybe been left with a feeling of, you know, being uncomfortable. Do you think it's important as a writer then that to cause that kind of discomfort?
I did want people to feel uncomfortable. That was the whole point of the novel, because it showcases that side of Pakistan. So I thought that, you know, people should know what it's like, what life is like in Pakistan. Even for people who are extremely privileged and who live in like a so-called bubble, that life is still very hard for women. Like there is very little freedom for them, and you know, no matter how much money you have or how much education you have, you still live in that sort of fear of you know, that patriarchy or.
Yeah, of course, exactly. And definitely, I think almost even as Pakistanis ourselves, whether we're living in the diaspora or you know, in Pakistan, there might be actually that notion that, oh no, but you know, the rich Pakistanis, they must have a really glamorous life, and obviously, and it's true, you might not really, I guess, appreciate that women, if we are in situations where there is abuse occurring, whether it's emotional, physical, obviously whether it's money or not, I guess doesn't make a difference.
I feel Pakistan is very much like Instagram, you know. You see something like Pakistani high society, you see something and the reality is completely different. So that's what it is. It's totally like Instagram, you know. What you see is not what's really going on.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And when we, I'm just looking, because obviously we have so many Pakistani dramas that, I know lots of people watch. And again, do you think that then the media in Pakistan or just generally is doing enough then to, because obviously these, if we're saying that this is a truth that we don't always get to talk about, then is there enough being done in terms of the empowerment of women or trying to dismantle, I guess, what I think we nowadays, term as toxic, masculinity?
Yeah. I think these days media and a lot of women are doing a lot for women empowerment. Even men are doing a lot, but it's a concept that's so deeply rooted in Pakistan that it's not going to go away easily.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, addressing it and talking about it is a good way to sort of bring it out in the open and sort of find a way to get gender equality and all of these things.
Yeah, exactly. And even actually I mentioned it during the last show as well, because even when we talk about gender inequality, because even living here in the UK, we had just a very recent case of a very well-known journalist, Samira Ahmed, who's took her case to court about not being paid, obviously the same as her male counterparts. And this gender pay gap is obviously a very big deal. So even, it might be that living in the West, as we were saying earlier, that we might look down upon other countries, but actually we ourselves are experiencing it. Maybe they manifest in really different ways. So and I guess coming back to the interesting thing then, how did you feel as a male writer? Because obviously you've got Mona, who's the main protagonist, who's female. You then are exploring her relationships, not only with her husband, Bilal, but then obviously with Ali, who is this, good-looking model, and he obviously has his own struggles. So how did you then feel as somebody, as a man, writing about things like domestic abuse and misogyny and things like that?
You see, the interesting thing about being a writer is that you sort of don't think about yourself when you're writing. So your characters sort of take over.
Okay.
So when you're writing, it's all about the character. So if a character comes to you, it takes a life of its own.
Sure.
So the writer sort of takes a back seat, like the thoughts and the feelings of a writer, they take a back seat, and the character has to, you sort of let the character do the thing.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it's kind of like two protagonists, so I sort of let them do whatever they wanted. So they sort of assumed a life of their own.
Yes, exactly.
So that's, I think that's what being a writer is, that you can't let your gender or your personal thoughts or feelings come into the way of the narrative.
Sure, okay. And then the what we were talking about earlier in terms of what inspired you. I mean, we had a question from Rosina, so thank you for the question. And she was saying that what inspired the characters, themselves in terms of your writing.
What inspired the characters?
Yes, let me just double check I've got the wording right, otherwise I'm just So it was a WhatsApp. So the question is, what was the inspiration for the characters in the book?
What was the inspiration? Yeah, so once again, I because that is the kind of society I sort of move around in. So I really, this is kind of like based on years of observation. So a lot of people come up and ask me that who is this person based on? Like, who is this person whose story you've written? I'm like, it's not just one person. It's like a culmination of everything that I've observed over the years. So it's not just one person. So inspiration is like all around us. And it could be like 20 people who sort of added to this character,
Yeah, sure.
So it's kind of like that.
And did you have much reaction from the, people in your circles, I guess, that, who, when they read the book, what was their reaction to it?
Well, yeah, that a lot of people came up and asked me who is this woman in real life? Tell us.
They want to know.
They were quite excited, to know who this person actually is. But I was like, it's obviously fiction. Yeah,
so exactly.
It's
not
just
that.
any one woman. Yeah.
No, exactly. No, that's really quite interesting, I think. And what you said, the whole notion of writing itself and the way that you need to be authentic to the character, I guess, that you're writing about.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, what obviously between Mona and Ali then, because Mona being from the elite society, whereas Ali's going through struggles in terms of money, and so were you also trying to explore the gap, I guess, between rich and poor? Would you say that's that's fair.
Yeah, that is a very much a reality in Pakistan, and there is so much disparity between the rich and poor that we sort of living in Pakistan, we sort of get immune to it. But now that you think of it, that it's like people begging on the streets and others parading on posh avenues. It's like it is a very different kind of world. It's a very disparate world. So it was very important to show that.
Yes, exactly. And I guess then how potentially Ali ends up in quite a difficult situation, because I guess he's trying to support his family. From the beginning of the book that modelling is, all that kind of world is something he wanted to leave behind. But it's because he's trying to, because obviously his brother has an accident and needs obviously an operation and I think prosthetic leg and things. And then obviously he needs to just get money.
The point behind Ali's story was that I wanted to show that male models are also exploited in Pakistan. So it's not only female exploitation that is happening in this industry, because this one is also it's happening quite a lot. So I wanted to show that side as well, that it's definitely not just women who are suffering through this. It's like it's like a plague, that's affecting these people.
Yes, exactly. And that's a really important point. And now that you've raised it, I hadn't even thought about it in that way, actually. But it's true, I think, because modelling is something you always think about, the objectification of women. But actually that industry is basically lives on kind of exploitation of anybody who's involved, isn't it? So that's really it's quite interesting way of
looking
at it.
It's a very sad state of affairs.
Yeah, exactly.
Because everyone there comes into work, that's not what they sign up for.
No, of course, exactly. That's right. But so do you think then, in terms of the fashion shows and the fashion industry that we see in Pakistan, which we always there's high praise for it, so is there something that needs to be done, do you think, then, in terms of the industry itself? Does needs to be new policies, or does it need to be a different outlook? What do you think?
I think in general these new policies need to be introduced, but it's not going to happen overnight. So it's going to be a gradual change. So a lot of people are wising up now. A lot of people are, because of all this media attention and everything, a lot of people are sort of realizing that this kind of thing exists. And as more and more people talk about it, I'm sure some government policies might come into effect, or something at least that protects these people or any person in any industry from exploitation.
Yes, exactly. And I think even when we, even in this country, I guess, because we do have, we've had things like, across the globe, I guess, the Me Too movement, and I guess that makes, the topics in this book maybe more pertinent. So what is your opinion then? So obviously one of the characters who's Mona's friend is Mira, and she's the one who, throws these lavish parties and the fashion shows, who's obviously working with the models. So what were you hoping for readers to take from Mira's character?
For me, she was like the quintessential independent woman,
Right, sure.
I wanted to show that, in Pakistan, such women exist as well, who are like totally, completely financially independent, and, who don't really care about anyone's opinion or anyone's judgment, and they're just living life on their own terms. So I wanted to show that
aspect as well. And it is, you do have really different characters, and obviously you've got the one I found quite interesting is it Shagufta, who's kind of more practicing in terms of, so she's in the circle, but
Shaida.
Shaida, okay, Shaida, okay. And see, that one again, so was interesting. So obviously she almost feels, do you think she's in conflict as a character? So she's obviously part of this society and she's going to these parties, but then by the same token she's kind of maybe reminding others that, oh look, this is not right, and
I think she's kind of like the queen bee who's refusing to let go.
Right,
it's kind of like, who used to rule the society, and she's like finally realizing that, she's not the only, she's sort of aging now.
Right,
a lot of people are getting over her. So, it's kind of, that's what my intention was, that she's like now realizing that she might not only be the queen bee,
Right, okay, sure. Yeah. Okay, no, that's fair. Yeah. And so in terms of the, like we mentioned, because we are talking about things like obviously affairs and drugs and, all these different things which you wouldn't associate, I guess, if you think about Pakistan, and the reason that Pakistan was created was to have that, for Muslims to have our, nation state and things like this. And obviously, if somebody like me, one of the best things I really kind of, I think, take back when I go back to Pakistan, or if I'm in a village, or just hearing the adhan and that kind of strengthening of faith, because I'm with, I guess, I don't know, people who are sharing faith, but in a country which is founded upon that. So do you think what is this kind of book? Is it trying to say, look, things have changed now, and we're just exploring, what is it? Is it, some sort of
things
journey?
Haven't quite changed, I'd say.
Sure.
Pakistan is still a very faithful. I mean, faith still plays a very large part in Pakistan, and it's just a section of society I wanted to show.
Yeah,
that,
sure. Yeah. Which is section, yes, exactly. Which we don't always. And even for myself, reading the book, I was like, oh my goodness, like, which made the book really interesting to read. And obviously, it is fiction, but as you said, it's kind of grounded in some sort of obviously reality.
Yeah.
So we are heading over to the break very soon. So we are talking today with Awais Khan, who is the author of In the Company of Strangers, and we will be joined after break. So if you do have any comments or questions, you can WhatsApp in on 07779 481 822, and you can watch us on Facebook Live as well. So catch you in a few moments. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Atif Nawaz. Listen to Inspire FM shows in your time by heading over to inspirefm.org, or listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Book Club show on Inspire 105.1 FM. It is 10:30 on Tuesday, the 25th of February. We today are talking about In the Company of Strangers by Awais Khan, and I am delighted to be joined in the studio all the way from Pakistan and obviously from London earlier this morning. We've had some really wonderful discussions so far on some of the themes of the book. So we've talked a little bit about the idea of living, I guess, in a patriarchal society where there are issues of domestic abuse, of misogyny, and obviously this is particularly obviously in the context of Pakistan. But then we discussed that actually these issues are obviously across the board. So even for living in the West in terms of gender inequality, but I guess what was really interesting was also talking about the fact that the book is based on some of the goings on, I guess, in elitist society and the things that we don't often hear about, and things like modelling and the exploitation of not only female models but actually male models as well. So the main character in the book is a character called Mona, and her, I guess, different relationship with her husband Bilal, but obviously another character called Ali, and some of the struggles, I guess, that they both are going through. But even though Mona is from kind of a more wealthy background, whereas Ali is going through struggles having to care for his family. So what I think I really wanted to ask Awais actually is what actually brought you into the world of, I guess, writing and publishing?
Well, I was always an avid reader. So as they say that every reader is also every writer is always also a reader.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I'd done my bachelor's and master's that I sort of realized that I wanted to write as well. I'd always had this thought, but I never really took any action on it. But afterwards, I took the Faber course, the novel writing course. That's where I first started writing my novel, and I realized that I really liked writing. And it was there that we learned all about what publishing is. So they told us about literary agents and everything. So after I worked with an editor on my book, and we once we were happy with the book, so I sent it off to literary agents. And as it happens, because of the competition, there were a lot of rejections, but there were also some full manuscript requests. And then I've finally signed up with Annette Crossland in the UK. And so that's how everything started. And then Annette got me a deal in the UK and then in South Asia as well.
Brilliant.
So that's how the journey started,
No, fantastic. So would you have any kind of aspiring writers, in our communities, obviously, who might be listening in, or parents or teachers who work with young people? Do you have any advice for them about, if they really want to maybe, be an author one day?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think biggest tip would be that don't give up, because it is such a demoralizing industry, because turndowns after turndowns, rejections, you have to go through them all. So you have to have a skin as thick as an alligator if you really want to survive in the world of publishing. And it's very hard, but it's possible. I mean, I tell people that if it can happen for me, it can happen for anyone, literally. I mean, so I mean, my advice would be that keep going and keep improving yourself, because writing is not an exact art. So it's like you can keep improving yourself. And you never know, it's a very subjective market. There's always someone out there who like your work.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's good. I mean, that's definitely a positive thing. I mean, not to just, I guess, persevere. So, because anybody, I guess, coming into the arts, so whether it's writing or any other art form, those barriers are kind of very different to going into any different workplace.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm really interested to know, what was the reaction of your parents or close family members? Because I mean, here, for example, if we come home and tell our parents, right, I want to be an artist, I think they would not they won't be overly thrilled, because we still have that notion of taking a very academic route and becoming a doctor, lawyer. I mean, things are changing, but I think those are still there. Did you come up against the similar situation or not?
To be honest, I didn't. My parents have always been very supportive, and I mean, they're always very happy whenever something writing related happens for me. And I mean, it's not like writing is my only thing that I do right now. But no, I mean, everyone in the family, my siblings, cousins, everyone's been incredibly supportive, and they've attended all my launches. And,
that's lovely.
And it's been really nice so far. Surprisingly.
No, that's good. And have you had launch in Pakistan or here or both?
I had my first launch was at Foyles, Charing Cross. So
fantastic.
That was in July last year.
Brilliant.
And then we had a launch in Dubai, and the Pakistan launch is scheduled for some time in March, because the book couldn't come into Pakistan because of the trade ban between India and Pakistan these days. So Simon & Schuster couldn't ship it to Pakistan because of that. So, but now they figured something out. A local publisher's publishing it, so we'll be having that launch in Pakistan.
So it's literally around the corners. That's really exciting.
It is,
That'd be amazing. And so is something like the fact that you've had a deal in South Asia. Obviously, you're going to have a launch now in March, inshallah. In terms of readers, so this idea, like Ali's character that we were talking about earlier, who's struggling in terms of finances, having to support his family, and then some of maybe, I don't know, they're not necessarily poor decisions, I guess, but they're almost done out of oh my God, the first word to come to my mind is majboori. What's English for majboori? I don't know.
It haphazardly,
but exactly. Yeah. And so, but do you think then this, the communities, I guess, that Ali would come from, would they have an opportunity to read this book? I mean, are they going to have access?
I think so, somehow? Because although the UK edition, I mean, the books here, they're quite affordable, but because of the exchange rate, they become very expensive in Pakistan. So obviously, when India or Pakistan, publishers in India and Pakistan are going to publish it, it's going to be very affordable. Yeah,
of course it does.
So I'm hoping that it reaches everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Because it'd be really, absolutely, and I mean, that's the reason, I guess, it's so great to have the platform of the book club show, and I mean, so I also run Dharamna book club on a monthly basis as well, and I guess that's really what the aims really are, to make sure that we can get reading accessible to everybody, have books accessible to as many people as we can, because we want to increase, because obviously we all know that reading increases empathy, and it helps us get a worldview that maybe we wouldn't always achieve. So and it's great that actually you've been able to obviously get the deal and have the book for people to read, which I think is brilliant. And in terms of then, we were talking about obviously young people and people wanting to write. I mean, would it be, without trying to be too challenging, but because you're saying that a lot of the stories from your own kind of observations and experiences that maybe you've seen, do you think then class comes into this idea that if somebody wanted to be a writer but they maybe have more privilege and access to opportunities, but if there's somebody who's from working class background who, there might be a young person who really wants to write, what are they going to do? And do you think it is just is perseverance enough, or is there more practical ways that they can perhaps?
Yeah, well, I think that's where things like local institutions come in. So unless the government actually steps in to offer some subsidized or budget courses to people, it's just that obviously a person from a middle class background in Pakistan cannot afford a favor course. It's very expensive. But I mean, they can. That's why I launched my writing institute in Pakistan, because it's kind of like offers these courses on budget rates. So a lot of people who are not from very privileged backgrounds can join those classes. So I think unless the government really steps in and sort of takes this industry seriously, I don't think anything major will happen, because it is a very big industry. Pakistan is a country of over 200 million people, and yet we don't have any major publishers. We don't have any literary agents in Pakistan, and it's like a very untapped industry, I think. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that's what's almost at least it means we've got something to work towards. And obviously, like you said, for your institute, I mean, that's absolutely amazing, because we have to start creating those opportunities. So do you feel that maybe in terms of all the political things that are going on in Pakistan, obviously it's important for a government to tackle those however they see best, but do you think that's also becoming a distraction? Because we, in terms of our heritage, whether it's as Muslim Pakistanis or even people of other faiths, where it's all the oral history, and we've got the poets that we've had, and it's so rich in what we've achieved in the past. Do you think the government or the people, they're just distracted? Do you think they value actually the arts and what can be achieved?
No,
you don't.
I don't think they value. They don't value it enough. That's the thing.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, they really need to invest in libraries. Like, for example, that's a good way for people to learn writing. I mean, reading is right. The art of reading is learning how to write. So unless the government literally takes it seriously, I mean, I don't see anything really changing in Pakistan.
Yeah, sure. And I guess that's when grassroots communities, grassroots movements become so important.
Exactly.
That we have to kind of band together and create these opportunities for ourselves and for other people.
Yeah.
No, definitely. And so then coming back to In the Company of Strangers, why the title? I was really interested.
So it's interesting. There's an interesting story behind it.
Yeah.
It's like I wanted to show that in Pakistani high society, even though you're meeting friends, so-called friends, you're actually in the company of strangers, because the moment you turn back or turn your back on them, it's like they'll start gossiping about you. So that's what it is. It's like you're in the company of strangers.
Yeah. And it's a brilliant title, I think, and it does, and it's true, because it's complete opposite of what you may be reading, but you see it, you sense it, like you said, that any of the characters, they might be friends, or they're all milling around at parties, but actually the internal feeling,
exactly,
and I guess that comes back to this whole notion of loneliness and wanting to keep busy, but actually in reality that's obviously not the case.
Absolutely.
So do you think that again, whether it's because you've got a connection obviously to the UK and to Pakistan, do you think that sense the struggles are similar? Do you think that the sense of loneliness, despite our lives getting busier, do you think actually that sense that's almost got worse?
The loneliness, you mean?
The sense of maybe.
I mean, in Pakistan that's very prevalent, because a lot of people have like dozens of friends, but they don't have anyone they can really bank on in time of need. And I think in the UK it's life is so fast paced that you never have time to feel lonely, because it's like you're always on the go.
Sure.
So in Pakistan, life, especially for elite people in high society, life has taken a certain pace. So it's like very slow paced, and there's a certain number of things they'll be doing in the day. So that sort of opens up the floodgates of loneliness for them when they realize that these people are not their friends in reality. Yeah.
And what do you think it is, from what you've observed? Is it is it a sense of competition, or is it? Is it about, the search for status and just wanting that,
it is like a never-ending search for status and trumping each other, I think. It's like, if someone's bought this thing, I'll buy something even better and show that. But at the end of the day, there's still unhappiness,
Yeah, sure.
Because material things can only bring you that much happiness and satisfaction. You see.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think, we have a term here. I think it's called like keeping up with the Joneses. This idea that you always, they're going to have a new sofa. I'm going to have a better sofa or a car.
Yeah.
Obviously, it happens. Which, obviously there's a sadness to it, but I think that's it in terms of society at the moment. Wherever you are, the chase for materialism is just so great.
That's true.
And so what do you think that, we were talking a little bit before about faith, and obviously, for example, Inspire FM, our listeners are predominantly Muslim, and is there, is faith something we should all fall back on, do you think, in terms of, in this chase of world and worldly things? Is that something we should fall back on, or what is it that we need to be doing to avoid, I don't know if you have an opinion on that.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think I'm the right person to be offering any opinion on that. But
Well, okay, if I reframe the question, yourself then, what do you do in terms of, creating a sense of, like, I guess, mindfulness where, you must be, like you said, you've had a launch, you're going to have one in March, and all of this, amazing things that are happening.
Yeah.
What do you do for yourself then to kind of, kind of earth yourself or hone back in of, I don't know. It might not even be necessary.
Yeah,
I'm just asking.
I think charity is a very good way to do that. I think
sure.
so. My aunt runs a very good charity in Lahore, and so we always sort of make a point of donating something there, and I think that's a feeling of peace.
Yeah,
that comes from it. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I think that's interesting because obviously with the character of Ali, who's obviously struggling, I guess this idea, if we didn't have all those inequalities in society, if we weren't able to help others like all the time, potentially that would help even, somebody like Mona or Bilal or the other characters here, if they could maybe be a bit more giving. So that's a really interesting, I guess, way of looking at it. So is there anything in terms of what next for you? So obviously you've got this book, but what are you hoping
yes, so I finished my next book, my second novel, and it's going out on submission very soon to publishers.
Brilliant.
And it's about honor killing in Pakistan.
Okay,
so it tackles a very grim, a very serious subject, but I hope that I've done justice to it, and my agent is very excited. She says that I've written a good book, but let's see how it's received by publishers.
Yes, exactly. And I guess that's another thing we don't, obviously it's a lot in the media now. And I mean, the interesting, I think, thing for me is the idea of honor killing and calling it honor killing. I mean, do you not feel that actually it's just murder, right? It's just another form of,
plain and simple.
Yes, exactly. So do you think by calling it an honor killing, I understand why it's termed that, obviously because it's rooted in a certain, I guess, attitude towards, women.
Yeah.
But do you think it racializes it? Do you think it suddenly becomes a thing where, this type of killing is just what Muslim Pakistanis do, or do you think it's important to have that,
It's not something that only Muslims do, to be honest.
No, of course.
It happens so much in India as well.
Yeah.
And I think even in the West, it's happening a lot. So, and honor killing has like many meanings to it. So it's not only about a daughter marrying against the family's will or something, or someone having a child out of, say, wedlock or something. It can be anything at all.
Sure.
So, that's why I think this word resonates with so many. So it is plain and simple murder.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to show what kind of murder it is and why it's happening and what we can do to stop it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And again, it's something. Hopefully, the book will create those conversations which we need to have.
That's what I hope it'll do. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's so good. And so when will that be out? So we all are waiting and we can.
Well, I hope that it'll come out soon because it's going out on submission now, and I mean nobody can know when the publishers will respond.
No,
but hopefully soon. Yeah.
No, fair enough. And so, what is the best way for anybody who's listening in to get in touch with you or follow your work?
I'm very active on social media, so they can just follow me on Awais Khan author. Most of my social media accounts are on that.
Brilliant.
That handle. So
Sure. And the institute that you were talking about, do you want to talk a little bit? Oops, Daisy, I just dropped the book. Would you like to talk a little bit about that in terms of the work that you're doing in Pakistan? Because you said obviously it's opportunities for people to access, different courses. So it's called, what is it again? Sorry?
The Writing Institute.
The Writing Institute,
Yeah.
sorry, yes. And so how long has that been running? And
so it's been going on for a few years now, and it's like I get a lot of people ranging from students to housewives to elderly people as well. Like
brilliant.
everyone who've always harbored a dream to write a novel, one day, and then they see this course being offered, and it's on an affordable price.
Okay.
It's not something that'll cost them like thousands of dollars or anything. So then they sort of sign up, and it's really fun. I think more than the fact that I consider it as a my hobby in a way, It's something I really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So that's the main purpose behind it, because I wanted sort of that to be with me in Pakistan.
Yeah.
Because Pakistan is not a very literary country, so I had to, have some connection.
No, absolutely.
So,
that's good. And I think it's always nice when your work is something that you love. I mean, it becomes a passion, and I think it always, that's absolutely, it's such a blessing. Now to come back to then in The Company of Strangers, one question I really was interested to ask you was the character Bilal, who's Mona's husband, who obviously is not a nice guy, if we put it quite simply. In the way he treats his wife, and the way I think his general outlook on women. Now, do you think there's an aspect to your writing when you're exploring, I guess, his character through the book, where I kind of think, were you trying to almost humanize him? Because at one point he's talking about, because he's just, treated Mona very badly, physically abused her, but then he's got this internal monologue where, but it's only because I love her, or whatever it might be. What was the aim of that?
Your questions are going to get me into trouble. They're very controversial. But no, I don't think I wanted to humanize him. But you see, human nature, it's not entirely white and it's not entirely black.
Yes.
You see, so there are always gray shades in every human being. So he is an absolutely horrible person. Yeah. And whatever he does, there's no excuse for it. But I wanted to show what goes on in his mind. Like there are times when he regrets his actions, but his nature is such that he can't really control himself. And but that doesn't excuse his behavior. But I just, that's how you create a multi-dimensional character.
Exactly.
So, there's a single track character and then there's a multi-dimensional character, which is more interesting.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. And I think, that was the reason I'm asking you, because actually I thought it was kind of important in a way that you did that, because you don't want to just make the baddie or the villain in the story very one dimensional, because that's unfair. It's unfair, and it's not really true to the form of writing, I guess. But it was just something interesting that was kind of, because I think it was more out of anger, feeling really angry about this man, and having to hear what his justification was just like I think it was coming more from that. But so then I guess the protagonist then with Mona, what would you imagine would be her kind of, if there was going to be a happy ending or something, what would you hope for somebody like Mona and Ali, actually?
Yeah, I would hope for something like I would wish that she had financial independence. That is how she would be able to follow her dreams or whatever her wishes were. Yeah. I mean, unless you have if you don't have financial independence, then you can't, you're shackled, no matter what. Yeah. So I think that's the point I was trying to make, that it's very important to have financial independence. Yeah,
and it's it is actually a very important point, because even, again, when we talk about abuse, we might, talk about the physical aspect of it, but actually, the other controlling nature is especially if you're a woman, you don't have financial independence, you end up foregoing almost a sense of freedom. And then if you end up in a situation which isn't desirable in terms of a marriage or a relationship, obviously that can be really have a negative impact. And so was that the idea then of showing Mira as kind of almost in the opposite, where she's a bit more controlled?
It's kind of like a mirror, not a mirror, but it's kind of like the opposite.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. No, and that's good. That's good to know, because even I think sometimes, as Muslims or Pakistanis, we have, I think, a cultural notion of obviously man or the husband kind of being the breadwinner.
Yeah.
But actually we forget that even in our own faith, even Islamically, the first, the Prophet's wife, saying that Khadija radiallahu anha, she was an independent woman, financially independent. If anything, she was obviously supporting the Prophet through her own wealth.
Yes.
And these role models are so important to, I guess, fall back on and not to forget, I guess that notion, and that's really so definitely I think that sense of women and I guess empowerment, but also with Ali and the struggles that he goes through, and like I said, having those different characters gives you really good insight into what you were, I guess, trying to achieve through the book, which is wonderful to read. So do you think that then, is there any other message or you'd want your readers to take from it that maybe we haven't really, I don't know, discussed today? Or
I think you've pretty much covered it.
Have I? Oh, that's been really good today. Yes. No, you've been a really good guest. That's why. And we've kind of that's. But and where can people actually, if anybody who hasn't read the book, where can they get the
it's
copy?
available at Waterstones, and
Brilliant.
It's available at Foyles, and Foyles have placed it in their highlights actually.
Oh, fantastic.
So you can find it at the Charing Cross branch, and if it's obviously available Amazon as well, if you don't have access to a bookstore near you. But it should be available everywhere. WH Smith, Blackwell's, everywhere in the UK.
So you can, brilliant, you can purchase it. And then, so how has your journey been? Because this is only, like you said, July of last year is when you, and what's it felt like, having your book out there and for yourself?
I think this thing has its ups and downs, because you get all kinds of reviews,
Yes.
So
course, sure.
the good ones really make your day, and then you read the bad ones, you're like, maybe I am a terrible writer, So it has its ups and downs, but for the most part, I think it has been absolutely brilliant. The journalists have been extremely kind. The reviews in newspapers have been phenomenal, and most of my readers have also been really supportive, very encouraging. And it's been a wonderful journey so far.
I know that's it's good to know. And obviously, I can understand the ups and downs, but obviously that's obviously with anything. But just to have, I guess, the book out there in the world, and seeing the photos of it on social media, it must be really lovely. And obviously, like I mentioned, we the book club I run have also been reading the book, and it was and it's nice, I think, in terms of representation as well, the fact that we're able to have access to different writers, different authors, different stories that you wouldn't always be able to hear. And it's so great to just to be able to celebrate that, and because representation is such a an important thing. So I don't know if you have any final words, because we are now heading to the end of the show.
No, I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you so much for obviously coming. It's been absolutely wonderful talking to you today. And I will be back with the book club show in a couple of weeks with obviously a different book and different themes and topics to discuss. I hope you do have a lovely week in the meantime, and hopefully the weather's going to get a little bit better. But I will see you soon. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Why not tune in to our live stream at inspirefm.org and follow and subscribe to our social media platforms at Inspire FM Luton.